Okay, thought I'd give a bit of a update today, just on property investing and what's happening in my portfolio, just for those who are interested. So I think the big thing was, I'll talk about first is, so earlier this year, back in April, I purchased my first property via auction. So I purchased a 4-unit, multi-unit freehold block. It's actually one that I'd been looking at for a while. So it'd been for sale through the typical online portals, I think for well over a year, but hadn't sold for whatever reason. I think because the vendor was trying to have set the price too high for what it was really worth. So it was in quite a nice area in a city I invest in. And I saw it come up for sale in auction, so I decided I was going to look into potentially bidding on it. There was actually 2 properties for sale at auction that I was interested in. Okay, the first one was a 6-unit multi-unit freehold block, of which I've got something similar in my portfolio already, so that would have been a good, easy purchase. And the second one was a 4-unit one, but the units were slightly bigger, so it was 2-bedroom flats and actually 1 3-bedroom flat, and it was in a nicer part of town. So I did some due diligence on those 2 properties. And yeah, with the first one, I actually registered to bid online, so I wasn't actually in the room when the auction happened. And so I'd done some due diligence to look through the legal packs to make sure there was no kind of nasty surprises in there. I didn't get a solicitor to look at the legal packs, which is probably the recommended thing to do, but I decided not to do that. Anyway, as it transpired, the first one then, you could kind of tell when you're bidding. There was me and another bidder, I think, and they were actually on the telephone. The auction auctioneer referred to that when he was kind of doing his piece of work. It was quite exciting actually going through it. The first one, we kind of gradually bid it up, and I got to the stage where I thought the amount they were asking for was kind of in line with the kind of value of the property, and so I didn't bid any further. And the actual person I was bidding against bid ahead of me, and I decided not to kind of meet or match or increase the bid. So that other seller actually won that property, and good luck to them. But then towards the end of the auction, the second property I mentioned before, which is a 4-unit multi-unit freehold block, that was the next lot towards the end, and I kind of figured actually that it was probably likely if there was 2 of us that bid on the multi-unit freehold block and there didn't seem to be any other bidders, probably we were the only people in the market on that auction to look for a multi-unit freehold block. So I kind of had a guess that when it came to the second one, there might not be much more competition, and that's what actually happened. So there'd been 2 of us on the previous bidding for the previous block, and then on the second one, the other guy or guy or girl had obviously bought that property and didn't have sufficient funds to buy a second, and so there was actually no one to bid against, which was very interesting. So a bit of background as well. What I'd done with this particular property is I'd actually put in a pre-auction offer. So the day before, I think it was a couple of days before, I'd kind of I put in an auction offer. I think it was £240,000. I placed it in an auction as a pre-auction offer, and the vendor decided not to accept that offer. And then it came to the actual auction, and what happened is the guide price, I think it was initially 270, 280,000, around there. The auctioneer started off and there was no bidders at that amount, and so what he did is he reduced the starting price down, so it went down from about 280 and he kept creeping it down about £20,000 a time. And because nobody was bidding, he didn't have a start price, and obviously the vendors were looking to sell this property, so it kept moving down, and eventually it got to £220,000, which is £20,000 less than my pre-auction offer a couple of days before, and I was the only person who was willing to bid on it, and so I put forward my offer of £220,000 as a bid. Okay, it was accepted. There was no counter offers, and I bought the property for £220,000. So I was really chuffed. So yeah, it's a steal. So in this area, just to give you a bit of a reading, so this is in Carlisle in northwest England. It's in a part of town called Scotby, which is on the outskirts, good links to the motorway, the M6, and it's a really nice area. So like looking on like at comparables, I haven't seen any blocks for sale there, but you can't really. So 2 bedroom flats in the area, you're looking at least 100,000, and so if you get 4 of them for 220,000, I mean and it's in pretty good condition. It was in decent condition as well, and that is a steal. So what happens is when they when you value a block, it isn't like the same as, okay, so one flat is worth £100,000, 4 of them it's worth £400,000, because the only people who can really buy blocks of flats are investors, because it's all on. So just to explain, multi-unit freehold block is a number of units all on one same freehold. So it's not like leasehold flats, which you may be familiar with, where there's one freehold and then maybe 4 different leaseholds. For the flats, this is just one freehold, all the properties are on it, so it's really only something that an investor can buy, and that's why surveyors will apply a discount to it. And I've heard numbers like 15%, 20%, 10%, around there. So anyway, long story short, £220,000 for 4 flats in Scotby was, in my opinion, a bargain. So I was really pleased with that. It's the first time I've used bridging finance before, which was an experience in itself. And so what I tried to do is, I wouldn't recommend this, I tried to use some of my own funds for the deposit, and then basically use bridging for a second charge on a different property I have. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. However, it just took too much time. It was too much of a faff to try and get a second charge on a different property within the required timescale. So bear in mind, with an auction purchase, you basically get like a 1 month between the auction date and then completion. So there isn't really time to be messing around with getting second charges unless you've already got it in place. So my recommendation would be to make sure you've got the funds all lined up, good to go. I mean, yeah, if you're a cash buyer, then great, but if you're not lucky enough to be in that position, then have your deposit good to go and don't rely on the second charge. So how it actually worked is I needed to just I had sufficient funds in the end to pay for it, using my own funds, plus I used a business loan from my trading business. So I was able to get the funds together to purchase the property. It took a bit longer than planned, so we were actually a few days over the supposed completion date, which was a bit stressful, but we got there in the end, so happy days. I'll just give you an update on what's happened with that property since then. So it was partially tenanted, so there was 4 units. One of them was already let. It had a legacy tenant in there. I was happy to keep them in there. They were paying not market rent. It'd been allowed to slip a little bit, but below market. But probably the previous vendors hadn't put it up for a long time, if at all. And there was 3 vacant flats. So what I did is then, working with my letting agent, I managed to get those 3 flats, just a pretty light refurb really. They didn't need that much, so just a bit of painting, new carpets, new doors, nothing too extreme, just tidying up really. So that took a few months, and then it was kind of August time, by mid-August, all the work was done, and basically we had 4 let flats, which is great, and all achieving less the kind of one that was a legacy tenant, all achieving market rent. And it's a nice area in Carlisle, so you can get a lot more for it. I mean, all of them are really popular. One of them was so popular that he had like multiple people bidding on it, and he was able to achieve above what I really realistically expected to get for it. So that was really good. Since then, so it's fully let. It's still on a bridge. I'm looking to take it off the bridge. I'm going through the remortgage process now. Actually, the one flat which was had a legacy tenant in there, that has since become vacant, and so it's been advertised again. But although it's a bit of a faff, actually it was in good condition, didn't need really any work, and it's meant that I can just increase the rent for it. So yeah, it worked out quite well in the end. So I think we'll get a new tenant in there pretty soon. And then so essentially I've got a 4-unit block fully let, and then hopefully by the end of the year, maybe slip into January, we'll have remortgaged onto term finance and reduced their monthly payments. And the plan with that is, I've waited basically until I'm close to already the 6 month point, so I've nearly owned the property for 6 months, or will have done by the time of remortgage. And so the idea is that the surveyor, when they're looking at it for valuation purposes, they value it on the market value, not based on what I paid for it. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that when it comes to the refinance, I'm going to be able to extract the majority of my initial kind of investment into the property, maybe leave a little bit in there, and that means I'm going to have a chunk of cash to then go again and purchase something new in the new year. So it basically means I've only done one project this year. I've only had one purchase, but it was a big one, Multi Unit Freehold Block, and I'm happy to do one big deal a year rather than four smaller ones if that's what comes about. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with it. So yeah, that's the Multi Unit Freehold Block. So yeah, not really much to report on that other than the fact now just waiting for the remortgage to go through, go into term finance, and then go again hopefully. You're probably all aware interest rates are still high. They started the Bank of England's started the process of reducing rates ever so gradually, and hopefully more to follow. However, the cost of finance for buy-to-let properties is still high. I've got one of my properties which is in Bicester. I've had that for 5 years now. That has come for remortgage. I had hoped to pull a bit more out, but because I'm looking at like 5% interest on a remortgage, and it was at 3 previously, I'm not going to take the full amount out because the cost of finance is too high. So I'm just going to take probably about half of my initial investment in the property out, and that money then is that's all in hand. So by the end of November, I'll have access to those funds, and they can go into my pot, for use to purchase more properties. Happy days. So it's more money to invest in property with. That same property as well has actually had a tenant vacate, and we go through the process now. Again, it's been relet. Someone's moving in on the 1st of November. This is in Bicester, which is in Oxfordshire. The rent has gone up from 1,400 when the tenant left to now 1,750, which is just unreal, really. So it'd already been refurbished back 5 years ago. It's still in really good nick. It just needs a few bits of touched up here and there. And the rent it's achieving is, I'm really impressed with it. So happy with that. So that's going to be remortgaged by the end of the year, and it's going to be relet onto market rent. What else is going on? So I've still got I've talked about this previously in some of my videos, and I'll link into the there's actually a series of videos on my multi-unit freehold block purchase I bought back in, was it 2022? I think it was now, 2021 or 2022. I'll have to check. I bought a 6-unit multi-unit freehold block, also in Carlisle, a bit more central to the other one I just mentioned before. That's still going fine. I had a few issues with arrears, which I'll come on to in a second, but at the minute it's fully let, achieving good amounts of rent, not too much maintenance recently, which is good, and just continuing to hold it really. No real issues with it. So it's been a great investment so far, because there's been quite a lot of money I've had to spend on it, and I've had some arrears which I'll come on to in a second, but it's just steadily moving along. But across the portfolio now, I would describe it as quite noisy generally. There just seems to be a lot going on. Like there always seems to be repair on every month or so, which is one of those things where I use managing agents, so it's not too bad, but there's sufficient tenancies and properties now that it means there's always stuff going on and always stuff to deal with. That's just a nature of the beast, really, if you're looking to be a portfolio landlord. Cool. So that's the second multi-unit freehold block. I just thought I'd talk about kind of next steps then, where I'm focusing on. So my portfolio is kind of split. I've got some properties down south in Bicester and also in Birmingham. So they're all within about they're all quite close to each other. So South Birmingham and then Oxfordshire, Bicester. I'm just kind of looking to hold there. I'm not really looking to purchase anymore right now, because especially in Bicester, values have gone up so high, and with the mortgage rates as they are, it doesn't really add up to do so. It's not really economically viable. So I'm just going to hold on to those properties, look to kind of continue to asset manage them. So when the along with across the whole portfolio, look to do annual rent reviews to sort of trickle them all up to be as close to the market rent as possible. And the next one I'm going to do across the board is going to be in the sort of springtime. So I'm going to leave people alone for this winter because they've got increased energy bills to pay. I just want to do them all as a one rather than trickle them. So I thought I'll just leave them all till spring and then do them all together. So that's going to happen next. I talked about the remortgages. I've got two going through. So hopefully by the end of the year I'll have some more investment funds, and then just looking for some more deals next year. Either looking for like something bigger, like another block, if there is one around. But I'm also interested in just doing a simple like refurbishment project. So even just like a single unit. So ideally a semi-detached house or a terraced house that get a family in there. Something needs a bit of work at a realistic price. Purchase it, refinance it, and then hopefully pull out some of those funds quite early on. So a bit more aggressive than I've done in the past, where I've just kind of bought something and held on to it to 5 years and then got my money back or some of it back at the end of that. I'm now looking to be a bit more aggressive and do that work, put it on bridging, or potentially even buy it for cash and then refinance it and pull out the funds. That's the next steps really, yeah. So just refinance and then look to do a new project next year, and ideally have one project on the go at any one time. So that kind of brings me to the end then of the update I was going to cover. I've talked about my latest purchases, what I'm doing about higher interest rates, and my next steps. Anyway, hope you found this video useful. If you do, please like and subscribe for more content. I do a lot of content on how property investors can use Zero to basically improve their business. So check out those, and also put updates on property investment. And I look to record another video in the near future.